My girlfriend said, "I can do better." I replied, "Go ahead." Then I ended the lease, took back every luxury, disappeared, and I smiled when better left her on red. Hey Reddit. I'm 23, just an average dude navigating the chaos of early adulthood. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew each other's business. Think quiet streets, family barbecues, and dreams of escaping to something bigger. My parents were hardworking folks. Dad ran a local hardware store. Mom taught at the elementary school. I was the middle kid, always the peacemaker, good at sports but never the star. School was fine, but I dreamed of the city lights, the buzz of opportunity. So, after high school, I packed my bags and headed to college in the big city, chasing that fresh start. It was overwhelming at first, crowded subways, endless noise, but I thrived. Graduated with a degree in computer science, landed a decent job at a mid-sized tech firm. Nothing flashy, like coding for billion-dollar apps, but it paid the bills, covered rent, and even let me afford a nice apartment in a trendy neighborhood with exposed brick walls and rooftop views. For the first time, I felt like I had it all figured out. Good friends from work, a steady routine of gym sessions and weekend hikes, and a girlfriend I'd been with for about a year. We met at a mutual friend's party last summer. She was the life of the room, outgoing, ambitious, with this infectious energy that drew everyone in. Tall, with sharp features and a laugh that could light up a room, she was always talking about her dreams, traveling the world, climbing the corporate ladder, maybe even starting her own business someday. I was more laid back, content with my simple life, coffee runs, binge-watching shows, and occasional road trips. But I loved how she pushed me out of my comfort zone, convincing me to try sushi for the first time or sign up for a salsa class. We clicked instantly, sharing laughs over bad jokes and late-night talks about our futures. Early dates were magical. Picnics in the park, impromptu concerts, and those little luxuries that made everything feel special. A weekend getaway to a nearby beach, fancy dinners at rooftop spots where the city skyline sparkled like stars. But looking back, there were cracks from the start. She'd complain about my lack of drive, saying things like, "You're too comfortable here. I need someone who wants to conquer the world with me." I'd brush it off, thinking it was just relationship banter, maybe even a challenge to step up. We'd argue over small stuff, me preferring quiet nights in, her dragging me to networking events. I tried to adapt, bought her gifts to show I cared, but deep down, I sensed the imbalance. She was always hinting I wasn't exciting enough, comparing me to her high-achieving friends. Little did I know, that was the foundation for what was coming, a storm brewing under the surface of our seemingly perfect life. It made me question if I was settling or if she was just outgrowing me. Either way, it set the stage for the night everything changed. "I'm done with this," she snapped, her voice trembling like a fragile thread about to snap, echoing through our dimly lit living room where the only light came from a single lamp casting long shadows across the hardwood floor. She stood there, a half-packed suitcase slumped by the door like a defeated soldier, her face streaked with tears that glistened under the faint glow, mascara running in dark trails down her cheeks. "I can do better." The words hit me like a punch to the gut, sharp and unrelenting, freezing me in place as if the air had turned to ice. My heart raced, pounding against my ribs like a drum in a storm, palms suddenly sweaty and clammy, fingers digging into the armrest of the couch. What the hell was she talking about? Was this just another one of our heated arguments, the kind we'd had over my lack of ambition, or her endless complaints about our routine? Or had she already moved on, found someone else who fit her grand visions of success and adventure? I stared at her, the air thick with unspoken accusations, the faint scent of her vanilla perfume lingering like a ghost from happier times. Nights we'd spent curled up here, laughing over takeout and bad movies. The room felt smaller now, the walls closing in, our framed photos on the shelf mocking me with memories of beach trips and cozy dinners. Flashbacks flooded my mind, her hints about needing more excitement, the way she'd pull away during our last few dates, distracted by her phone. Was this the culmination of all those cracks I'd ignored? My stomach twisted in knots, a mix of shock, anger, and a deep, aching sadness bubbling up. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but my throat tightened, words stuck like glue. In that instant, I felt the ground shift beneath me. Everything we'd built, the apartment, the shared dreams, the little luxuries I'd poured my savings into, all crumbling like sand through my fingers. Would I survive the fallout, pick up the pieces and rebuild? Or was this the brutal end of us, leaving me hollow and alone? The uncertainty hung heavy, a storm cloud ready to burst, forcing me to confront the raw truth. Our relationship was over, and the real chaos was just beginning. Our relationship wasn't always stormy. It started with sparks that lit up my world like fireworks on a summer night. We met at that party, and from the first conversation, there was this electric chemistry. Her laughter infectious, her stories about globe-trotting adventures pulling me in. She was bold, always planning the next big thing, while I was steady, the guy who kept things grounded. After a few months of whirlwind dates, coffee shops, impromptu hikes, and late-night drives, she was the one who suggested we move in together after 6 months, saying it would save money and make things fun. I agreed, excited about the next step, imagining a future filled with shared mornings and cozy evenings. It felt like destiny, a leap into adulthood together. We rented a sleek 2-bedroom place in the heart of the city, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of the skyline that twinkled like stars at night. She took charge of decorating, filling it with her taste. Abstract modern art on the walls, plush rugs that felt like walking on clouds, and high-tech gadgets, smart lights, a fancy coffee maker that cost more than my monthly salary combined. I didn't mind. It made her happy, and I wanted to show I was invested. For her birthday, I surprised her with a sleek red car, the kind she'd always admired, thinking it would symbolize my commitment. Jewelry followed, delicate necklaces and earrings that caught the light just right, and designer clothes from her favorite brands, plus a high-end phone customized with apps to keep her connected while she chased her career goals in marketing. I poured my savings into these gestures, believing they were building our life together. But beneath the surface, things soured slowly, like a shadow creeping over a sunny day. She'd come home late from work, distant and irritable, snapping at small things like the dishes in the sink. "You're too comfortable," she'd say, rolling her eyes with that exasperated sigh. "I need someone who challenges me, who pushes boundaries." Her complaints about my lack of ambition stung. I'd brush them off at first, but they piled up. I'd counter with plans for us, weekend trips, trying new hobbies, but she dismissed them as not enough. I tried to change, signing up for gym memberships to get in shape, networking at events to level up my job prospects, even taking online courses on entrepreneurship. It felt forced, like wearing shoes a size too small, and deep down, I sensed she was pulling away. Her phone buzzed more with mysterious texts. She'd mention friends, with a knowing smile, and I wondered if she was flirting with the idea of greener pastures. Maybe that charismatic coworker or the ex who'd resurfaced. That night, when she dropped the bomb, it all clicked into place. She wasn't just venting in one of our arguments. She was serious, her words laced with finality. It stung like betrayal, a knife twisting in my chest, revealing the hidden fractures I'd ignored for too long. The luxuries I'd given her now felt like chains, binding me to a relationship that was already unraveling. I didn't break down or plead, even as my world tilted on its axis. Instead, I took a deep breath, steadying myself against the wave of emotions crashing inside, locked eyes with her, and said, "Go ahead." The words came out calm, almost icy, like a shield I'd thrown up to hide the turmoil. Inside, I was boiling, a volcano of hurt, rage, and disbelief ready to erupt. She looked shocked, her eyes widening as if she'd expected a fight, maybe even tears or apologies. For a split second, her confident facade cracked, revealing a flicker of uncertainty. Then, she grabbed her bag, the wheels scraping angrily against the floor, and stormed out, slamming the door behind her with a bang that echoed through the empty apartment like a gunshot. As soon as she was gone, the silence hit me like a wall. I sank onto the couch, staring at the empty space where she'd stood, the half-packed suitcase still by the door mocking me. The air felt heavier, thick with the remnants of her perfume and our unfinished argument. Anger bubbled up, hot and sharp, but beneath it was a strange mix of relief. Why chase someone who didn't want me? Why beg for scraps of affection? That night, fueled by a cocktail of hurt and raw determination, I decided to reclaim control. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking slightly, and called the landlord at midnight. Personal emergency, I explained, my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. I need to end the lease immediately. No notice, no drama, just done. The words felt empowering, like cutting ties with a toxic past. Then, I packed my essentials, clothes shoved into a duffel bag, my laptop tucked under my arm, a few keepsakes like an old photo album and a mug from our first date. But I didn't stop there. Driven by a surge of resolve, I took back everything I'd given her. The car keys from the drawer where I'd hidden them as a surprise, the jewelry box with the necklace I'd saved months for, the designer wardrobe hanging in the closet, even the high-end phone I'd customized with her favorite apps and wallpapers. Each item I reclaimed felt like a piece of my dignity restored. I left a note on the counter, scribbled in hasty handwriting. Enjoy the memories. By dawn, I'd moved out, crashing at a friend's place across town, the city lights blurring as I drove away. I blocked her number, deleted our shared apps, and vanished from her life completely. It felt liberating, like shedding dead weight after a long hike, a fresh start unfolding. But a small voice in my head whispered doubts. Is this revenge or self-preservation? Was I punishing her, or just protecting myself from more pain? The line blurred, leaving me questioning if this bold move would haunt me later. Weeks passed, and I rebuilt my life quietly, like piecing together a shattered vase with invisible glue. I landed a new job in a different city, about 2 hours away, at a startup that promised growth and less corporate nonsense. It was a step up, better pay, creative freedom, but the real change was in my routine. I rented a tiny studio apartment, minimalist and affordable, with just a bed, a desk, and a window overlooking a park. No more shared spaces or reminders of her. I focused on myself, hiking trails on weekends, losing myself in the crunch of leaves underfoot and the burn in my legs, diving into books I'd neglected, from thrillers to self-help guides on moving on, reconnecting with old buddies over video calls and beers, sharing laughs that didn't feel forced. It was healing, a slow reset, but the nights were lonelier, filled with echoes of what was. I didn't stalk her, swore off it actually, but social media made it impossible to ignore. Every scroll through my feed was a minefield. She'd post stories of her fresh start, beaming in filtered photos, brunch spots with mimosas, yoga classes at dawn, all captioned with hashtags like #newbeginnings. And there he was, the new guy, looking like he stepped out of a magazine. Tall, chiseled jaw, successful vibe radiating from his tailored suits and the fancy sports car he drove her around in. Finally found someone who gets me. She wrote under one pic of them laughing at a rooftop bar, his arm draped possessively around her. I scrolled past, feeling a twinge of jealousy knot in my stomach. Why him? But mostly amusement. She thought she'd upgraded, traded my steady reliability for his flash, but I knew the truth. That guy was probably just a rebound. All style and no substance, the kind who ghosts after the novelty wears off. I'd seen his type before, charming on the surface, empty inside. Then, one rainy afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from her. Where's everything? The car? My stuff? This isn't funny. I stared at the screen, a smirk creeping across my face despite the sting. No explanation, no apology, just demands. I read it, let the words sink in, and left her on read. No response, no drama. It was petty, sure, a small act of defiance that felt like flipping the bird to the past. But in that moment, it clicked. This was closure, a final line drawn in the sand. I deleted the message, blocked her again for good measure, and went back to my hike. The city felt bigger now, full of possibilities, and for the first time, I didn't look back. The Real kicker came a month later, hitting harder than I expected. I was grabbing my usual coffee from a corner shop in my new city, the steam rising from the cup warming my hands against the crisp autumn air, when my phone buzzed insistently. It was an old mutual friend, Jake, the one who'd introduced us way back. "Dude, you need to hear this," he said, his voice low and urgent, like he was sharing a secret that could explode. I stepped outside, heart picking up pace, wondering what bombshell was coming. Turns out, she'd spiraled hard. Without the apartment I'd abruptly ended or the luxuries I'd reclaimed, she couldn't keep up with the city's relentless pace. Rent in our old spot was sky high, and she'd been footing the bills alone now. Utilities, groceries, everything. She lost her job after showing up late too many times, her once sharp focus shattered by the chaos. Buried in debt from the unpaid lease and credit card balances I'd left behind, she was drowning, posting desperate pleas for help on social media that went unanswered. And that better guy, the one she'd flaunted like a trophy, he ghosted her after just a few dates, realizing she was more baggage than prize. Jake filled me in. He'd seen her at a bar, ranting about how he'd promised the world but vanished when things got real. Photos surfaced online of her looking wrecked, puffy eyes red from crying, messy hair tangled like she'd given up on mirrors, posting cryptic messages about betrayal and starting over, with hashtags like #brokenhearts. It was jarring, seeing the woman who'd once seemed invincible reduced to this. I felt a knot twist in my stomach, sharp and unrelenting. Was I the bad guy here? My actions had stripped her of stability, yanked away the safety net I'd built for us, and now she was paying the price in ways I hadn't foreseen. I smiled at first, a bitter victory grin, thinking I'd won the breakup battle. But it faded quickly into guilt, a heavy weight settling on my chest. Revenge isn't sweet when it hurts someone you once loved, when it leaves scars that echo long after the dust settles. It made me question everything, my choices, my motives, and wonder if true closure ever really comes. Now, 6 months in, I'm in a new place, literally and figuratively. I've traded the bustling chaos of my old city for a quieter one, with tree-lined streets and a slower pace that lets me breathe. The apartment is modest, a one-bedroom with a balcony where I sip morning coffee and watch the sunrise. My job's going well too. I got promoted at the startup, leading a small team on projects that actually excite me. Dating? It's casual now, no strings, just fun connections with people who match my vibe. One girl's a fellow hiker, another loves indie concerts. It's liberating, no pressure to be the one. But that experience changed me in ways I didn't expect. I used to be the guy who avoided conflict, settling for less to keep the peace. Now, I'm more assertive, setting boundaries early and valuing my own happiness above all. The biggest shift? I realize letting go doesn't mean destroying someone's life. It means protecting your peace. In those early days, I questioned if my actions were too harsh, ending the lease, reclaiming everything, but hindsight shows it was necessary. It forced me to confront my worth and stop chasing validation from someone who didn't see it. She reached out once more, about 3 months ago, a late-night text apologizing for everything. I was wrong. Can we talk? It tugged at old feelings, but I didn't reply. Closure wasn't in rehashing the past. It was in silence. We're both moving on now, scarred but wiser. I hear through mutual friends she's rebuilding. New job, therapy sessions, and I'm genuinely glad. No ill will, just distance. If I'd known the full fallout back then, the debt, the job loss, would I have done it differently? Maybe softened the blow, given her more time to adjust. But in the end, it taught me that doing better is subjective. What feels like an upgrade to one person might be a dead end for another. Sometimes, the best thing is walking away clean, no drama, no lingering ties. It hurts less in the long run. What about you? Ever pulled a move like this in a breakup? Share your stories below. I'd love to hear.